Right, tonight I've just decoded the full book of Revelation. We'll skip the first first three chapters because they're just notes to the churches. Chapter 4 mentions seven spirits of God. These are the seven archangels. Mentions four beasts, which are the four seraphim, and then 24 elders. Chapter 5 again mentions the seven spirits of God, which are angels. Chapter 6, this is where it gets interesting. Right, the first rider, a white horse, that sat on him had a bow, which means mouth, like the fiery darts of the devil is just his fiery words in your brain. He went forth conquering and to conquer. This is Gabriel winning the info war. He's the first angel to arrive. The second seal opened. There's a red horse, and he was given power to take peace from the earth. This is Abaddon, who starts the psyche war, because you have to remember the kingdom of heaven's within people, of the collective unconscious, as Carl Jung would say. Third seal opened. This is where Michael arrives. He's the leader of the archangels and is the only one who's actually an archangel. And he's identified by the balances in his hand, which is commonly identified with Michael, because he weighs the souls of the departed. The fourth seal leaves Raphael, and much like the other archangels, he has not a split personality, but he has a dark side, and he's the angel of healing, but he's also the angel of death, and hell follows with him. Most of these angels have like an area of the cosmos which they preside over, and basically he spiritually kills a fourth of them with his judgment. And then the fifth seal, all these martyrs, you have to remember that time, 1,000 years is as a day with the Lord. So not only is there the last 7 years of revelation, it's been playing out for the whole 7,000 years of existence. So during the Dark Ages, all these people, and up to the current day, were slain by spiritual Babylon, which is Rome, and nowadays the United Nations, which is a continuation of Rome. Then the sixth seal opens, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth. This is just before the end, and basically it says all stars of heaven fell to the earth, which means the good, the bad, and the neutral angels of heaven fell to the earth. And then it goes on to say, this is his day of his wrath, and all things are new. That's we'll continue on chapter 7 first. 12,000 sealed from each tribe, blah blah blah. And that's the first account of three revelation accounts, much like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. There's three accounts for the three witnesses, because 2 or 3 people is a good witness for a trial in the Old Testament. Then the 7 seals opened, and it says, and I saw the 7 angels which stood before God. Notice it calls them angels instead of spirits of God, which means they are the 7, what people will commonly refer to as archangels. And first trumpet, Gabriel reveals the evil and takes away naivety. Second trumpet, Uriel spiritually kills a third of mankind. Uriel is Abaddon, the destroyer, and much like in Exodus where he slayed all the firstborn children in Egypt in one night, he slays a third of them in one day. The third trumpet, Michael gets, it says, there fell a great star from heaven and fell upon the rivers being the collective unconscious, and that's basically where Michael cast down Satan shortly after the spiritual death of a third of humanity. Fourth trumpet, Raphael's judgment. It says a third part of the stars were darkened, and this is where Raphael's condemnation of it. He's probably the most pure archangel, makes them all turn to darkness. The fifth trumpet is where Apollyon comes in, and the locusts. This is a third of angels that are neutral, and Uriel is known as the Redeemer, and basically they fight the good fight, join the side of heaven, third of angels, and sway the battle in favour of heaven. They're referred to as locusts, but that's very symbolic. There's even Sumerian artwork that depicts them. Apparently 12,000 BC, but we know that to be about 7,000 to 6,000. And third of heaven are redeemed. And then it goes on to name Apollyon, who is the angel of the bottomless pit, which Uriel, who is also the angel of the bottomless pit. That's how we know they're the same guy. And then the sixth trumpet happens. That's four other angels, which are unnamed, and they come from the east, and they slay. Is it a third or fourth? A third part of man. So that means a spiritual slaying. It's not as if like they're just gonna drop dead. You know what I mean? They're just spiritually dead to the world. You might have noticed this go on where there's people that are just of the void and have no life in them at all now. So it's already happened, buds. And then at the same time, Metatron announces that the seven thunderings, which are sealed up until the end, and gives the book to John. And then the prophecy of the two witnesses, right? Two witnesses, Michael and Gabriel, two lampstands to stand before God. Notice in Revelation 4, it says the seven lamps to stand before God, which are the seven spirits. And in Revelation 11, it says the two main lampstands. So that would be Michael and Gabriel, without a question. There's no way it's the Old Testament and the New Testament, because they've been about since about like 3000 BC or something. And they're about today, and their name is Donald Trump and Alex Jones, being Michael and Gabriel. Now the beast of the bottomless pit, which is Baal, he will come out of the pit and he'll kill them. So there's a wee prophecy for you: Alex Jones and Trump to be killed, lay dead for 3.5 days, and then revive. And then that's the second, well, before the second one ends, actually, sorry. There's the war in heaven. We've already had the sign in heaven, 23rd of September 2023. 2017, sorry. Where Virgo, the 12 apostles, being Regulus, Mars, Mercury, Venus, the clove of the sun, moon under her feet. Jupiter does a retrograde motion, which is the same motion a baby makes whenever it exits a womb. That happened in 2017, about a year after the war started, which it goes on to say Michael and his angels cast down Satan, and the persecution of the woman, 1,260 years she had to flee into the wilderness. This is 688 AD to 1948 AD, as I've explained in the Daniel video. The beast of the sea, papal Rome. The beast of the earth, Islam. Now, how does Islam make people turn to papal Rome? Well, during those days, the threat of being slaughtered by the Muslims was such that people turned to papal Rome for protection and joined them. So therefore it made them worship the Pope of Rome. And then we'll get to chapter 14, where again we're at a judgment scene where Christ harvests all the good souls, and Uriel crushes all the ripe grapes, which are the unrighteous souls. So it's just, that's the second account. The first account and the second account it's just the same scenario but told completely in different wording. And chapter 15, the 2 seconds to read it. The last plagues, which means the first two happened simultaneously. This is the last 7 plagues, so this is yet to happen. The first vial, Gabriel again. Anyone who worshipped the Pope or the UN will get Gabriel's condemnation, which is a spiritual mark to match their mark of the beast, which is again a spiritual mark. And it sets them up for second file, which is Uriel, who kills them again. Now you have to remember, I'm repeating myself for a third time here, but this is how the book of Revelation is. It's split into three parts and it tells the same story. One's 7 chapters long, next one's 7 chapters long, and then there's 5 chapters, and then there's the 2 end chapters which reveal what happens afterwards. The third vial, Michael destroys them with truth, which is the word of God. Basically it says that he would avenge those who have been martyred. And then the fourth vial, a strong condemnation of Raphael, making them realise their folly, and they'll blaspheme the name of God, which have power over these plagues. And basically it's all psyche war. There's none of this locusts running about or like meteors or like things like that happening. It's all happening in the minds of the collective unconsciousness, because the kingdom of heaven's within. The fifth and sixth I can't identify because I just don't know who they are. There's 2 missing archangels in my mind that I don't know the name of. But the sixth vial interestingly says that out of the mouth of the false prophet would come 3 unclean spirits. This is Baal, Lilith, and Asmodeus. And Lilith is the manipulator, Asmodeus is lust, and Baal is just sadism, basically, if you want to look up the psychological terms for them. And seventh vial, it is done, it ends in. So basically we move on to the fall of Babylon, which used to be Papal Rome. It morphed into and joined with the Sadducees, I should say. I learned that one from a pastor. And the Pharisees were actually not even that bad compared to the Sadducees. And basically Rome falls, or the UN falls, whatever you want to call it. The lawless one comes out, which is Obama, by the way. I know that's controversial, but fuck it. And he's the leader of the United Nations, 3rd term under Biden. And yeah, it says they will be crushed within a day. So I don't see that Ukraine war going well for them. I don't see the revolutions in Africa going well. I don't see the BRICS alliance going well for them. I think they're going to surrender in one day, but they're not going to do it without putting up a fight. And the thing that makes them surrender is the appearance of Christ, because we get to chapter 19. How about that for covering the book of Revelation quickly? About 13 minutes, right? Jesus appears out of the spiritual world, which is to say the second heavens or the third heavens, which would be light, second heavens being dark matter, and he arises with all his armies. Now people say he's going to have a sharp sword coming out of his mouth. That just means the word of God, which is truth, and he's going to beat everyone into submission with the truth. And the fire that it speaks of is just like a fiery temperament. And he's going to rule with a rod of iron, which means his strength of will. They're going to capture the beast after they try to make war against him. Not going to last long. Revelation 20, first 3 verses is Abaddon or Uriel binding Satan to the bottomless pit, as he's the angel of the bottomless pit. Makes sense. And then the judgment comes, and that concludes the third telling of the very short and sweet 7,000 year history, and 7 years of the last year, of which we are in the 6th year of. According to my calculations, we could be in the 7th, and it could happen the 17th of September here, but I'm going for 2024, Feast of Trumpets, Return of Christ. There's no such thing as a pre-tribulation rapture, again, controversial. And then 21 and 22, just, you know yourself, just tells of the new heaven, new earth. Not bad for doing it on the fly. Take one.